You know, whenever I get excited about starting a new venture, the first thing I do is, yes, I do a lot of reading on it to find out exactly how everything works, for example, with real estate. But I also do a lot of reading and research to find out exactly everything that sucks about it and everything that could go wrong with it. Because the whole idea is when you're excited about something, usually you become very biased and all you actually see is the good that can actually happen. But you kind of cease to pay attention to all the risks, all the problems, all the hardships that actually go along with that opportunity. So my whole output is basically, I want to know as much as the good, but I also want to know a lot more about the bad. That way I'm prepared when the bad actually happens. So in this video, we're going to talk about 5 problems you can actually experience when it comes to real estate. Okay, so just to make sure that, yes, if you're excited about real estate like I am right now, it's awesome, but you also want to know the truth about it and the problems about it. This way you're actually prepared for it when these things actually do happen. As always, guys, like this video and top out. Also, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified because I have more real estate videos coming out very soon. Not soon, like this week and next week and the further week and the next week, because I'm going to take this whole year to talk about real estate and just make a whole bunch of videos about real estate and learning more about real estate. So make sure you subscribe to keep up to date with those videos when they actually do come out. Now, the first problem that you actually experience with real estate is that real estate is not a get rich quick scheme whatsoever. You know, even for the people that actually want to use crazy amounts of leverage, basically they want to borrow a lot of other people's money and put down little to no money on this deal, like it still takes a long time to actually be able to build a good real estate portfolio of a good size and to also build a lot of wealth, okay? Because, hey, if you get a 30-year mortgage, when you first start this whole amortization table that basically shows you your payment schedule, the whole idea is in the very beginning, most of your mortgage payments is going to go just towards interest. A very little amount is going to go little towards capital. Basically saying it takes a long time for you to actually build equity. It takes you exactly 30 years to actually pay off this property and to actually own it in full. Now, for me personally, when I do go into real estate, it is not going to be like, hey, I'm going to get a 30-year mortgage or a 20-year mortgage. Most likely, I'm going to be putting down anywhere between 50 to 100% and to basically just buy a property right out or put down 50% and then pay it off little by little, but try to pay it off as fast as possible to move on to the next deal. But even like this, guys, real estate is not cheap. It costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time to actually be able to build up a massive portfolio. And the people that try to take on a lot of risks, well, they run some extra risks because of that. And that's not the game I actually want to play. So understand, it is not going to happen overnight. It is not a get rich quick scheme whatsoever. Now, number 2, guys, is that real estate is not as passive as people want to make it out to be. You know, it takes up your time. It kind of consumes you. There are 3 main parts that actually take up your time the most. It's going to be the time it takes to find a great deal, the time it takes to actually maintain this good deal, and also the time it takes to make sure you run this deal efficiently to get the maximum amount of money out of it. And don't forget about the time it takes to find the next deal, because it starts over and over and over again, and it becomes this cycle and it takes up your time. And yes, you know, you could hire people to take care of, for example, when the toilet breaks, when the roof starts leaking, when the AC stops working. All these things are true, but all these things eat up into your margins, right? Because that's also very important to talk about. Yeah, you could run real estate like in a passive way where you hire a property manager and so on, but hey, this is money that you're not getting paid in the beginning. And when you're first starting out, that's money you probably need. Okay, so that's the whole idea. Real estate is not like this passive thing. It takes up your time. And whenever real estate like reaches like this very passive idea, right? When someone's like, hey, I just go collect rent, don't worry about it. That's usually when a deal starts to degrade. When people lose interest, when they don't take care of the property, when they're not making sure they're actually getting as most money as they probably should be getting. Okay, so it's like you have to actively stay up to date with everything. Yes, find great deals. Maintain that property as much as you probably can, okay? And on top of that, make sure you're getting as much money from your property you can actually make, okay? That basically means raising the rents, okay? That's something people don't like to do, but that's also very important. By the way, it also means not raising the rents, because if you see that If you have a tenant that does great by you, takes care of the property as if it's their own, well, that basically saves you a lot of money on your maintenance budget, which basically means, hey, instead of raising the rents and probably potentially pushing them out, you could say, I'm going to maintain the rents because I'm saving money on the maintenance side, which preserves my assets, and I still make money either way. All right. That's also very important. And it's something I actually learned from Graham Stephan and just people overall that I've been a tenant for in the past. Now, number three, guys, is you're going to be able, well, you're going to have to deal with difficult people. It's not going to be via text or via calls. It's going to be on a personal note. Now, real estate is one of the most deceiving businesses, just like, for example, borrowing money or lending money is. In what way do I mean that? I mean it, for example, when you have a property, or you're lending someone money, or you're dating someone, you always find yourself in this whole complicated issue. People always present to you the best version of them possibly in that moment. When you're dating a girl and you're meeting her for the first time, you go with your best dress, you are very nice, everything's fine, but then you might find out that this girl is doing the same thing to you, and you find out that her character is a little lousy. Okay, that's probably normal too. Okay, it's just like natural. You want to present yourself as nicely as possible. Same thing when you have a tenant. I've had stories that I found out that people basically presented to me, for example, when actually, by the way, this also happens on the landlord side. Some landlords present one image and then you find out they're very complicated later on. When I rented a property about a year ago, something like that, the landlord lady was so nice. And then I told her, hey, this toilet has a problem. And she basically started snapping at me. I told, hey, your AC has a problem, snapping at me. Like at that moment, you see people's real character. Same thing when you rent somebody your property, they're very nice, they're very kind people. Then you start to see they're not paying rent on time, they're not nice whatsoever, and you kind of want to just like evict them in a sense. Okay, so be prepared to deal with difficult people. Now, what can you do here? Yes, you can do the background checks. Yes, you can do the interviews. You can ask the questions, do all the research possible. But remember, you have to get better at dealing with people via dealing with people. So yes, do all of your due diligence, but understand that you don't know who somebody is, like what somebody is, right? Just by judging it by a paper. You have to also treat that person in real life. So keep those things in mind. Now, number four, and by the way, this also means that somebody might not seem that good on paper, but they might actually be great in person, and I don't want to tell you do that, okay? But when the landlord I had in New York, when he rented to my mom on paper didn't even have a credit score, okay? But she had income, and she said, hey, I'm gonna be good for this, and she's never missed a payment whatsoever, takes care of the property, and even helps the landlord. Okay, so some things you just can't account for on paper, and that's why it's so important you learn how to deal with people and talk to people. Now, number four, guys, is going to be taxes and paperwork. Yes, real estate has a lot of tax advantages. Okay, you can save money on interest and everything, and the payments and the expenses and all this other stuff. It's amazing, but that also means you have to keep track of all of these figures, what you're spending money on, and do all the paperwork, do all the filings, and usually that means hiring a CPA. And that's one of the things you probably want to do, because although it costs money, it eats into your margins. It's a little complicated in a way. It does. It basically is worth the investment. Okay, I don't like taxes whatsoever. I have a bachelor's degree in accounting, and I absolutely hate taxes. Okay, like as a whole idea, like as the way like the way we do it in America is just terrible. I've seen nations like in Finland, like all they do is send you like your total amount with the whole information. You pay right there, you're done. But America is like a whole bunch of issues, and that's why I really don't like it. It's very complicated. Now, number five, guys, is going to be you always have the risk of losing your investment. Some folks only talk about on YouTube like, hey, you buy this deal, you remodel it, you refinance, you rent it, do it all over again, take money out, blah, 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 Bird method. And, they say, I bought this property, I rent it out, everything's fine. But remember, there are bankruptcies that happen. People do forfeit properties. People do buy very bad deals. So that is a part of real estate. People just not knowing what they're actually doing. Everything might look good on camera, might look good when you see somebody talking about it on YouTube, but it does take skill. And it is a very real deal when you're going into, for example, a contract with someone saying, hey, I'm going to put down 20%, but I'm borrowing $500,000. I'm borrowing 100K. I'm borrowing 50K. It's still a lot of money no matter how you slice it. And the math might tell you, I'm going to cash flow $500 a month, but then you have a vacancy for 3 months. All these figures matter, okay? I'm not telling you, hey, the math isn't important. The math is super important. You want to do the math. You want to do the diligence. You want to do diligence. You want to do everything possible, but you also want to make sure that, I will never forget what Dave Ramsey said. He said, when I'm buying real estate, I'm making money on the buy. I'm not making money just on, for example, keeping this property. That's very important. When you buy this property, you want to make sure you buy it at a discount. That means, hey, if this property costs $100,000, I want to buy it for 80K or 50K, and I want to be able to make money when I actually buy it. So what do I have? I have built-in equity. How do you do this? Well, you find properties that are cosmetically like ugly. They have carpeting, they have some issues here and there, but it's all cosmetic. You can fix it with a little bit of paint, a little remodeling here, put in some flooring, things that are very cosmetic, but there's nothing wrong with the structure. It's actually in a good neighborhood. This way, when you make those fixes, property value goes up, and you actually have built-in equity in there. So you always want to make money in the buy. Now that basically means that you have to, again, go back all the way to the beginning of the video where I said, hey, real estate is not that passive, it's actually active. You have to go out there, find the best deals, maintain them, and also run them efficiently. All these things matter the most. And that basically means if you're trying to find a bargain, it's not saying, I can't find one, I'm going to buy this terrible investment. No, it's saying, hey, I can't find a bargain right now. I have to keep searching until I find one, because you're signing up for a 15-year mortgage, 20-year mortgage, 30-year mortgage. It's a very long time, right? So you want to make sure you actually have all your numbers intact, and you buy something that actually makes sense, and you don't buy something just because, hey, it's what you have to buy. All right, that's the whole idea. Thanks for watching, guys. Like this video, on top of also subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. Remember, okay, although these are problems, it doesn't mean that real estate is still not a great investment. It does mean, though, you have to keep these things in mind when you're actually making these investments. Thanks for watching, guys, and peace. Up here is another video. Over is my face. As always, long-term team officially out.